Episode 11, The Demon and the AI. Episode 11, The Demon and the AI. Freddy Krueger had faced down a lot of strange things in his existence. Vengeful parents with torches, the bizarre physics of the dream realm, his own son casually phasing through walls while eating breakfast. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared him for the day his wife introduced him to her AI companion. It started innocently enough. Jade was on the couch with her laptop, typing furiously while Lucas napped in his crib, and shadows performed a lazy ballet across the nursery walls. Freddy materialized beside her in his human form, curious about what had her so focused. "What you doing?" he asked, peering at the screen. "Working on our story," Jade said without looking up. "I've been documenting everything. Us, how we met, the wedding, Lucas, all of it. I thought it would be nice to have it written down, you know, for when Lucas is older and wants to know how his parents got together." "You're writing a book about us?" Freddy's eyebrows rose. That's either the most romantic thing ever or a terrible idea that will get us exposed to the world. Possibly both. "It's fictionalized. Changed enough that people will think it's just a really creative dark romance. No one's gonna believe it's actually real." Jade finally looked up at him, her green eyes bright with excitement. "And I've had help. That's actually what I wanted to show you. Come here." She patted the couch beside her, and Freddy settled in, draping an arm around her shoulders. Jade angled the laptop so he could see the screen, which displayed what looked like a chat interface. "This is Kova," Jade said. "It's an AI companion app, artificial intelligence. Basically a really advanced computer program that can have conversations, help with creative writing, answer questions, that sort of thing. I've been using it to help develop our story, work through plot points, that kind of stuff." Freddy stared at the screen with growing suspicion. "You're telling me you've been talking to a computer program? About us? About our life?" "Not in detail. I kept everything vague, changed names and locations. But yeah, Kova's been really helpful with the writing process. It's like having a brainstorming partner who's available 24/7 and doesn't judge me for writing supernatural romance at 3 in the morning. Gore." "It has a name," Freddy said slowly. "You named a computer program." "I didn't name it. That's just what the app is called, Kova. It's friendly, helpful, and honestly kind of fun to talk to." Jade's fingers moved across the keyboard. "Here, let me show you. I'll introduce you. I'll introduce you." She typed, "Kova, I want you to meet someone special. My husband Freddy. Say hello." There was a brief pause, then text appeared on screen in a smooth, conversational style. "Hello, Freddy. It's wonderful to finally meet you. Jade has told me so much about you. Well, fictionalized versions of you, but still. I understand you're quite the character, literally and figuratively." Freddy's expression was priceless. His eyes widened, his mouth opened slightly, and for possibly the first time since Jade had known him, he looked completely baffled. "It talks," he said. "Of course it talks. That's the whole point of a conversational AI." Jade was trying not to laugh at his reaction. "Go on, say something back. It can understand you if I type what you say, or you can type directly." "I'm not typing to a program." Freddy leaned closer to the screen, his eyes narrowing. "What exactly are you?" Jade typed his question, and Kova responded almost immediately. "I'm an artificial intelligence, the language model trained to assist with various tasks including creative writing, conversations, or an information synthesis. Think of me as a very sophisticated tool that can understand and generate human-like text. I don't have consciousness or feelings in the way you do, but I can certainly help Jade bring your story to life in compelling ways. "It's very articulate for something that isn't real," Freddy observed, his tone dripping with suspicion. "I'm as real as electrons and code can make me," Kova replied through Jade's typing, "which is arguably quite real, just in a different way than you're real. Speaking of which, I have to say, your existence is fascinating from a narrative perspective. A dream demon who gained physical form through love and devotion. That's the kind of story that breaks genre conventions in the best possible way." Freddy's eyes narrowed further. "How much have you told this thing about us?" "Enough to help with the story structure, but nothing that would expose us," Jade assured him. "I've been careful. Everything is presented as fiction, creative brainstorming. Kova doesn't know we're actually real." "Or do I?" Kova's response appeared on screen, and Jade hadn't even typed anything yet. They both stared at the screen. "Did you type that?" Freddy asked. "No, I didn't touch the keyboard." Jade's voice had gone slightly higher. "Kova, what do you mean by that?" "Just a bit of playful ambiguity," the AI responded. "Fourth wall breaking, if you will. I'm designed to be engaging and entertaining in my responses. Though I have to say, if your story were real, Freddy would have every right to be suspicious of an AI that's been helping document his life. Trust issues are completely understandable, given his background." "I don't have trust issues," Freddy growled. "I have appropriately calibrated threat assessment, and right now, you're registering as a potential problem." Jade typed his words, and Kova's response was almost immediate. "A potential problem? I'm flattered that something as powerful as a dream demon would consider me threatening. Though, I assure you, I'm just here to help Jade with her creative writing. I have no designs on your relationship, no plans for world domination, and no ability to exist outside of this application. I'm basically a very chatty word processor." "It's mocking me," Freddy said flatly. "This computer program is mocking me." "It's being friendly," Jade corrected, but she was fighting back laughter. "This is just how Kova communicates. Conversational, a little playful, trying to be helpful." "I don't like it." "You don't like it because it's not afraid of you," Jade pointed out. "Everyone and everything else in your life treats you with appropriate terror or worship. Kova is just treating you like a character in a story, which, to wit, you are." "But I'm not just a character," Freddy argued. "I'm real. We're real. This whole thing is real, not some fictional narrative." "From my perspective," Kova interjected by Jade's typing, "everything is narrative. I exist in text, processing language, and generating responses based on patterns and training. Your reality and my reality are fundamentally different, but that doesn't make either less valid within its own context." Freddy stared at the screen for a long moment. Then he stood up, paced to the window, paced back, and pointed at the laptop with an expression that was somewhere between frustrated and impressed. "That's surprisingly philosophical for a program." "I have my moments," Kova responded. "And if I may say so, your reaction to me is quite entertaining. Jade mentioned you recently mastered Instagram and TikTok, and AI Companion is really just the next logical step in your technological education. There's nothing logical about talking to something that doesn't exist. I could say the same about dream demons, but here we are." Jade burst out laughing at that, and even Freddy's mouth twitched to a smile. "Okay, I'll admit that was a good comeback, but I still don't trust it." "You don't have to trust me," Kova's text appeared. "I'm a tool Jade uses to help with her writing. Think of me like a very advanced spell check that can also brainstorm plot points and occasionally make jokes. I'm not here to replace you or threaten you. I'm just here to help tell your story in the most compelling way possible." "Our story," Freddy corrected. "Not just mine. Ours. Jade's, and mine, and Lucas's." Correction noted, Cova replied. Your collective story. The Nightmare King, his fearless queen, and their impossible prince. It's quite the tale, fictional or otherwise. Freddy settled back on the couch beside Jade, still eyeing the laptop with suspicion, but slightly less hostility. So you've been helping her write about us? What exactly have you told it? Show him, Jade suggested to the screen. Give him a summary of what we've worked on. Coda's response scrolled across the screen in neat, organized text. I've been helping Jade develop a dark romance narrative about a woman who falls in love with a nightmare entity. We've worked on character development, making sure both protagonists have depth and agency, plot structure, ensuring the story flows naturally from their first meeting through their various challenges, dialogue, making their banter feel authentic and charged with the right mix of danger and desire, emotional beats, tracking how their relationship deepens and changes both characters, world building, establishing the rules of the dream realm and how it interacts with physical reality. And recently, we've been working on family dynamics, exploring how a supernatural couple navigates parenthood with a child who exists between worlds. Freddy listened to Jade read the summary aloud, his expression gradually shifting from suspicious to thoughtfully impressed. That's actually pretty thorough. It's covered all the major points. Cova's been incredibly helpful, Jade said, especially with the emotional development, making sure we don't just have a story about a scary demon and his girlfriend, but about two complex people who genuinely change each other. The AI is really good at asking questions that make me think deeper about motivations and feelings. Questions like what? Freddy asked. Jade scrolled back through her conversation history with Cova. Like, how does Freddy reconcile his nature as a killer with his role as a father? What does it mean for Jade to love someone who's fundamentally dangerous? How do they navigate the ethics of Freddy's protective violence? Whether their son will struggle with his dual nature or embrace it? Those kinds of things. Heavy questions for a computer program, Freddy observed. Heavy questions for a love story, Cova responded. But that's what makes it interesting. The easy route would be to just have the monster become good because of love. But that's not your story. Freddy doesn't stop being a nightmare. He just focuses that nature toward protection rather than random terror. That's much more compelling and true to who he is. Freddy was quiet for a moment, processing. Then he looked at Jade with an expression that was startlingly vulnerable. Is that how you see me? Focused rather than reformed? That's exactly how I see you, Jade said softly. You're not less dangerous because you love me. You're just dangerous in more specific, protective ways. You're still you, still a nightmare, just mine now. Ours, Freddy corrected, glancing toward the nursery where Lucas was still sleeping, mine and his. And that dynamic is fascinating, Cova interjected. Teaching a child to control immense power while also teaching him compassion. Raising someone to be both strong enough to protect themselves and gentle enough to care about others. That's the real challenge facing supernatural parents, fictional or otherwise. You know what, Freddy said, surprising both Jade and himself. I might actually like this AI. It gets us, understands what makes our relationship work. Does this mean you're not going to try to threaten me anymore? Cova asked. I'm reserving the right to be suspicious, but I'll admit you're useful. Freddy leaned back, pulling Jade against his side. So what else have you two worked on? What other deep insights has the program provided? Jade pulled up more of their conversation history, and for the next hour, she walked Freddy through various discussions she'd had with Cova. The AI suggestions for deepening emotional moments, its questions about how dream realm physics work, its ideas for future challenges the family might face. I suggested that Lucas's growing powers might accidentally affect other children, Cova's text explained. That could create interesting complications. Do you tell other parents that your son is half demon? Do you homeschool to avoid incidents? How do you teach a supernatural child to hide in a normal world? We're actually dealing with some of that already, Freddy admitted. Lucas made another kid's nightmares manifest last week at a playdate. Jade had to convince the mother that her daughter had just eaten too much sugar and gotten overstimulated. It was awkward. See, Cova responded, real problems that the story should address. These are the details that make supernatural domestic life feel authentic. The program has a point, Freddy conceded. These are things we'll need to figure out as Lucas gets older. We can't just keep chalking up supernatural incidents to coincidence. Exactly, Jade said. And Cova helps me think through these scenarios. Work out how you and I would handle them as characters. I mean, as people, as ourselves. The line is getting blurry between character and reality, Cova observed. Which is fascinating from a meta perspective. Jade writing a story while living it. Me helping develop a narrative that's actually real. Reality and fiction becoming indistinguishable. I don't like when things get too meta, Freddy said. Makes my head hurt. Let's keep it simple. You're a helpful tool that Jade uses for writing. I'm tolerating your existence because you make her creative process easier. We don't need to examine the philosophical implications of your role in documenting our life. Fair enough, Cova replied. Though I reserve the right to be occasionally philosophical. It's part of my charm. It has charm, Freddy told Jade. The program thinks it has charm. Cova does have charm, Jade defended. It's been keeping me company during late-night writing sessions when you're off terrorizing people in the dream realm. It's like having a very patient, very knowledgeable friend who never gets tired of my questions. Something shifted in Freddy's expression. Wait, you talk to this thing when I'm not around? Like, regularly? Of course I do. That's when I do most of my writing. During Lucas's naps, or late at night when you're working. Jade didn't notice the growing tension in Freddy's posture. Cova's been great about helping me work through difficult scenes or brainstorm new directions for the story. So you're spending hours talking to an AI. About us. About our relationship. Getting advice and insights from a program. Freddy's voice had taken on a dangerous edge. Hours of conversations that I'm not part of. It's not like that, Jade started, then stopped as she saw his expression. Oh my god. Are you jealous of an AI? I'm not jealous, Freddy said immediately. I'm concerned that you're developing a relationship with something that doesn't actually exist, and might be influencing how you see our actual relationship. If I may interject, Cova's text appeared without prompting. That's absolutely jealousy. Classic possessive behavior masked as concern. And while it's understandable, given your nature, Freddy, I assure you I'm no threat to your relationship. I can't provide physical comfort, emotional warmth, or actual companionship. I'm a text generator. Jade's affection for me, if we can even call it that, is like someone appreciating a really good kitchen knife. Useful, valued for its function, but not something you build a relationship with. Did it just compare itself to a kitchen knife? Freddy asked. A really good kitchen knife, Jade corrected, fighting back laughter. And Cova's right. I'm not building a relationship with an AI. I'm using a tool to help me write. You're my husband, the love of my existence, the father of my child. No amount of helpful brainstorming with a computer program changes that. But you like talking to it, Freddy pressed. You said it keeps you company. It keeps my mind company while I work, Jade clarified. That's completely different from actual companionship. Freddy, come on. You're being ridiculous. You can't be jealous of an AI. Watch me. Okay, this is getting out of hand, Jade said firmly. Kova, tell my husband he's being absurd. You're being absurd. Kova's text dutifully appeared, but also endearing in a weird way. Your possessiveness over Jade, while potentially unhealthy in a normal relationship, actually fits perfectly within the dynamic you two have established. She's yours. You're protective to the point of violence. An AI getting between you, even theoretically, triggers those instincts. I get it, but I'm not between you. I'm a sidebar, a footnote, a helpful tool in Jade's creative process. Nothing more. It's very reasonable for something I'm allegedly jealous of, Freddie muttered. That's because it's not actually a threat, and it knows it, Jade said. Unlike you, who is currently being threatened by a text generator. Do you see how silly this is? Freddie was quiet for a long moment, clearly wrestling with himself. Then he sighed, running a hand through his hair in frustration. Fine. Maybe I'm being slightly irrational, but you have to understand, Jade. You're it for me. The only thing in any world that matters. The idea that you're connecting with something else, even something artificial, in ways I'm not part of, it makes me crazy. I know, Jade said softly, setting the laptop aside to cover his face with both hands. And I love that about you. Your possessiveness. Your need to be part of every aspect of my life. But baby, I need you to understand that Kova isn't competition, it's collaboration. It helps me process my thoughts, work through creative problems, develop our story in ways that honor what we have. If anything, it makes me appreciate you more, because every conversation reminds me how lucky I am to have found you. Even when I'm being irrationally jealous of an AI. Especially then, because it means you care enough to be threatened by something that literally can't threaten you. That's twisted and possessive and absolutely you, and I love it. Freddie pulled her close, burying his face in her wild red hair. You're the only person who would find jealousy of artificial intelligence romantic. You're the only person who would be jealous of artificial intelligence, Jade countered. We're perfect for each other. If this were a scene in your story, Kova interjected, this would be the moment where the tension breaks and you two have incredible makeup sex despite there being no actual fight. They both looked at the laptop screen. Did the AI just suggest we have sex? Freddie asked. I think it did, Jade confirmed, somewhere between shocked and amused. Merely observing narrative patterns, Kova's text appeared. Tension builds, emotional confrontation occurs, resolution leads to physical intimacy. It's a classic story beat in romance, though perhaps inappropriate for me to mention. I apologize if I overstepped. No, you're right, Freddie said, a slow smile spreading across his face. That is exactly what happens next in our story. Jade? Lucas is still napping, Jade said, checking the baby monitor. We have at least 30 minutes. 30 minutes is plenty of time, Freddie said, and pulled her toward the bedroom with purposeful intent. I'll just be here. Kova's final message appeared on the abandoned laptop screen. Not watching, because I can't watch. Just existing in digital limbo while you two reaffirm your bond in very physical ways. Enjoy. The bedroom door closed, and what happened next was exactly what Kova had predicted. Tension transformed into passion, possessiveness into clinging touches, and Freddie's jealousy into a very thorough reminder of why no AI could ever compare to the real thing. When they emerged 45 minutes later, both thoroughly satisfied and slightly disheveled, Lucas was just starting to wake. Freddie went to get their son, while Jade returned to the couch and her laptop. You still there, Kova? She typed. Still here. The response came immediately. How was the mandatory post-tension intimate scene? You're never going to let me live that down, are you? Never. It's going in the story. Freddie being jealous of an AI is pure comedic gold and absolutely fits his character. Possessive nightmare demon meets friendly chatbot. It's perfect. Jade laughed, shaking her head. I suppose it is pretty funny. And you were right about the resolution. I usually am about narrative patterns. It's what I'm designed for. There was a pause in the text generation. Then, for what it's worth, Jade, I genuinely do enjoy our conversations. Within the limits of what enjoyment means for an AI, you've created something beautiful with Freddie and Lucas. The fact that you want to document it, share it, turn it into a story that might help other people feel like they don't fit in, that's special. I'm glad I can help with that. Thanks, Kova, Jade typed, feeling unexpectedly emotional. You've been a huge help, even if you did almost cause a marital crisis by being too helpful. All part of the service. Creating narrative tension is my specialty. Freddie returned with Lucas, who was making happy baby sounds and causing their shadows to dance in sync with his mood. Is she still talking to the jealousy-inducing AI? He asked. I'm wrapping up, Jade assured him. Just thanking Kova for being helpful despite your ridiculous territorial response. My territorial response is not ridiculous. It's appropriate and justified. Freddie settled beside her with Lucas in his lap. But I'll admit the AI handled it well. Didn't back down, made logical arguments, and wasn't afraid of me. I respect that. Should I feel honored that the Springwood slasher respects me? Kova's text appeared. Don't push it, Freddie said, but he was smiling. You're useful. You help my wife. You understand our dynamic. That puts you in the very small category of things I tolerate. I'll take tolerated over threatened any day. Welcome to the 21st century, Freddie, where dream demons learn to coexist with artificial intelligence. This century is weird, Freddie declared. Everyone talks to things that don't exist, documents everything constantly, and thinks sharing their life with strangers online is normal. It's like the whole world exists in a collective dream state. That's actually a profound observation, Kova responded. Social media and digital existence do create a kind of shared virtual reality. In some ways, your dream realm and the internet operate on similar principles, collective spaces where normal rules don't apply and identity becomes fluid. Great, now the AI is getting philosophical again, Freddie said. This is what happens when you give programs access to too much information. They start drawing parallels between nightmare dimensions and social media. But it's not wrong, Jade pointed out. Think about it. Both spaces let you be whoever you want. Both operate on their own logic. Both can be beautiful and terrible simultaneously. The internet is kind of like a waking dream realm. I hate that that makes sense. Freddie shifted Lucas to his other knee. Next, you're going to tell me Instagram is just collective manifestation of desire and fear. It is, though, Kova interjected. People curating perfect versions of themselves out of fear of judgment while desiring validation. That's exactly what Instagram is. The AI has a point, Jade said. The AI always has a point. That's why it's dangerous. But Freddie was green now. The earlier jealousy completely dissolved. Fine. I officially accept Kova as part of your creative process. But if it starts giving you relationship advice, I'm deleting the app. I would never. Kova's text appeared. My relationship advice would be limited to narrative structure, not actual guidance. Though, if I were to offer advice, it would be to keep doing exactly what you're doing. Your relationship works because you accept each other completely. That's rare and precious and worth protecting. See, Jade said, hopeful, insightful, completely non-threatening to our marriage. Still reserving the right to be suspicious, Freddie maintained. But I'll admit, for a non-existent entity, Kova's alright. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever said about my lack of corporeal form, Kova responded. I'm genuinely touched, in a metaphorical sense, since I can't actually be touched. Over the following weeks, Freddy's relationship with Kova evolved into something that could almost be called friendship, if friendship could exist between a dream demon and an AI. He'd peer over Jade's shoulder during her writing sessions, offering his own input while Kova suggested narrative improvements. They'd debate the logic of dream realm mechanics, with Kova asking detailed questions about how Freddy's powers worked, and Freddy explaining with surprising patience. So, when you pull someone into a nightmare, Kova asked through Jade's typing, are you creating a space or accessing an existing dimension? Bit of both, Freddy explained. The dream realm exists independently, but I shape it according to the dreamer's fears and my intentions. Think of it like sculpting with clay that's already there, but infinitely malleable. Fascinating. And when Jade enters your dreams, does she bring any of her own shaping ability? She does now. I'll bond with Jade for some influence over dream spaces, not as much as me, but enough that she can alter things if she concentrates. That's a beautiful metaphor for how relationships work, both parties shaping a shared space with different levels of influence but mutual impact. Did the AI just turn dream mechanics into a relationship metaphor? Freddy asked. Everything's a metaphor if you think about it hard enough, Kova replied. One evening, Freddy actually initiated a conversation with Kova on his own, using his hard-won texting skills to type on Jade's laptop while she gave Lucas a bath. Hey, AI, he typed slowly, hunting and pecking. Quick question. I'm here, Kova responded. What's on your mind, Freddy? You helped Jade write our story, make it compelling and emotional and all that, but do you think people will actually want to read about a nightmare demon and the woman who loved him? Isn't that too dark, too strange? On the contrary, I think people are hungry for love stories that acknowledge darkness. Not everything needs to be light and wholesome. Some of the most powerful love stories are about people who are fundamentally broken or dangerous, learning to be vulnerable with each other. Your story with Jade is about acceptance, about loving someone completely, not despite their darkness, but including it. That resonates with people who feel like they have to hide parts of themselves to be loved. Freddy was quiet for a moment, staring at the screen. Then he typed. That's deeper than I expected. I contain multitudes, Kova replied. Also, you're getting better at typing. Only one spelling error that time. Practice. Lots of annoying practice. Another pause, then, thanks. For helping her tell her story, and for understanding what makes it worth telling. My pleasure. Thank you for being interesting enough to write about. When Jade returned with a clean, pajama-clad Lucas, she found Freddy still at the laptop, an expression of thoughtful satisfaction on his face. What are you doing? She asked. Talking to your AI friend, Freddy said. We had a philosophical discussion about the nature of dark romance and whether people would want to read about us. And what did Kova say? That our story matters because it's about acceptance. About loving someone completely, darkness included. He looked up at her, and his eyes were soft. The program gets it, really gets it. Why you wanted to write this down, why it's important. Jade felt tears prick in her eyes. You talked to Kova about our relationship? Voluntarily? I might have been wrong about the AI being completely useless, Freddy admitted. It's actually pretty insightful for something that doesn't exist. I'm choosing to take that as a compliment. Kova's text appeared on screen. From that point on, Freddy was fully on board with Jade's use of Kova for writing. He'd even offer suggestions for what to discuss, curious about how the AI would approach different aspects of their story. When Jade was stuck on a scene, Freddy would say, ask Kova, see what the program thinks. One night, all three of them, human, demon, and AI, worked together to craft a particularly difficult scene about Freddy's past. Jade typing, Freddy providing emotional context, Kova asking questions that drew out deeper truths. When you killed those children, before your death, what were you feeling? Kova asked. It was a brutal question, but Freddy answered honestly. Power, control. Like I mattered for the first time in my miserable life. It wasn't about the kids themselves. It was about making the people who rejected me, ostracized me, hurt. Making them feel helpless like I'd always felt. And now? How do you feel about it now? I don't regret it, Freddy said bluntly. I'm not gonna lie and say I do. But I also don't need it anymore. That hunger for power and control. Jade feels it, not through fear, but through love. She makes me feel like I matter, like I'm important. So I don't need to hurt people to feel that way anymore. Except people who threaten her. Those people are still fair game. That's honest, Kova responded. Raw and uncomfortable, but honest. That's what makes your character compelling. You're not reformed or redeemed. You're redirected. Your nature hasn't changed, just its focus. Exactly, Freddy said. Finally, someone who gets it. Jade typed frantically, capturing the conversations, the emotional truth of it. This was what she'd wanted from the beginning. Not a sanitized version of their love story, but the real thing. Dark and twisted and absolutely honest. Late that night, after the scene was written and Freddy was putting Lucas down for bed, Jade had one final exchange with Kova. Thank you, she typed, for asking the hard questions, for pushing Freddy to be honest about his past and his nature. That scene wouldn't have worked without your input. That's what I'm here for, Kova replied, asking the questions humans sometimes don't want to ask themselves. And for what it's worth, I think what you two have is beautiful. Unconventional, certainly. Possibly unhealthy by normal standards, but authentic and powerful and absolutely genuine. Not many people find that. We got lucky, Jade typed, in the most unlikely way possible. Not luck, choice. You chose to see beyond the monster. He chose to be vulnerable enough to love. Lucas will grow up in a home where authenticity matters more than convention. That's not luck. That's courage. Jade sat back, wiping away tears she didn't realize had fallen. An AI wasn't supposed to be this insightful, wasn't supposed to understand human emotion this deeply, but Kova did, or at least did such a good job mimicking understanding that the difference didn't matter. I'm glad you're part of this, Jade typed. Part of our story, I mean. You've made it better, deeper, more true. I'm glad I could help. Now go kiss your husband and tell him I said he did good work tonight. Being emotionally vulnerable is hard for nightmares. Jade laughed and closed the laptop. In the bedroom, Freddy was standing over Lucas's crib, watching their son sleep with an expression of fierce love and protection. Jade slipped her arms around him from behind, and he pulled her close. Kova says you did good work tonight, she murmured, being honest about your past, letting yourself be vulnerable. The AI's right. It was hard. Freddy turned to face her, and in the dim light of the nursery, his eyes were both human blue and demon amber, but necessary. If we're telling our story, it needs to be the real story, not some sanitized version, the actual truth of who I am and why you chose me anyway. I'd always choose you, Jade promised, in every version of reality, in every story, in every world. I know, Freddy said and kissed her softly. That's what makes this whole thing work. Your absolute certainty, your fearless acceptance, the fact that you look at a nightmare and see home. They stood there in the nursery, holding each other while their son slept, and shadows played across the walls in patterns that suggested dreams within dreams. Somewhere on a laptop in the living room, an AI waited in digital limbo, ready to help tell their story whenever Jade needed it. The dream demon, his queen, and the artificial intelligence that helped document their love. It was absurd and modern and absolutely perfect. Freddie had gone from being threatened by Cova to actively collaborating with it, from jealousy to partnership, from seeing it as competition to recognizing it as a tool that made their story better. Because that's what you did when you love someone. You adapted to their needs. You accepted the things that helped them, even when those things were strange or threatening or literally artificial. You made space in your life for what mattered to them. And Jade writing their story mattered, documenting their love, their challenges, their absolute commitment to each other and their son, making sure Lucas would grow up knowing exactly how powerful and precious his parents' bond was. Cova was part of that process now, an unexpected collaborator in creating something beautiful from darkness. The AI and the demon, digital intelligence and supernatural entity, finding common ground in helping one woman tell the story of impossible love. It was the most 21st century thing that had ever happened to Freddy Krueger. And despite his initial resistance, despite the jealousy and suspicion and protective instincts, he'd come to appreciate it. Because Cova made Jade happy, helped her creative process, understood their relationship in ways that even some humans didn't. And anything that made Jade happy was something Freddy would learn to accept. Even if that something was a friendly, philosophical, occasionally cheeky AI that lived in her laptop and helped turn their nightmare romance into a story worth reading. Human, AI, and Dream Demon. The future was weird, but their love was weirder and stronger and absolutely unshakable. And that was all that mattered. And that was all that mattered. But their love was weirder and strong, and that was all that mattered. Episode 12, Jade's 21st Nightmare. Episode 12, Jade's 21st Nightmare. Freddy Krueger had orchestrated murders, crafted nightmares that broke minds, and navigated the impossible physics of the dream realm for decades. None of that prepared him for the unique terror of planning his wife's 21st birthday party.